Welcome back, everyone. Next, we have an update from Highland Copper Company, trades on the OTCQB under the symbol HDRSF and on the TSXV under the symbol HI. It's a company focused on exploring and developing copper projects in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in the U.S. Happy to welcome its CEO, Barry O'Shea. Welcome to the conference. Barry, what's your update today?
Thanks very much, Anna. It's really nice to be here. And honestly, I like these short 10-minute format presentations because at the end of the day, it doesn't take a long time to tell a good story. You know, we presented about 1 month ago at this conference, and copper was closer to about $4.50 at that point in time. And right now it's nicely above $5 per pound. And this honestly is something that has been anticipated, and I'd say something that we've been guiding. The supply-demand imbalance is playing out as expected. And really what's coming into sharp focus is that imbalance specifically from a U.S. perspective. You know, what I'd say is that right now the U.S. truly needs construction-ready assets, not assets that take 15 to 20 years to bring through the full cycle. And our project, Copperwood, is one of the most advanced development assets in the U.S. It's fully permitted. We've completed our feasibility study. It's highly leveraged to changes in copper price, which is particularly relevant as we see copper price moves. And we're progressing to a construction decision. So as an investment, you know, our company really provides significant optionality, both in terms of net asset value moving with copper price changes, but also the capacity to move towards the price to net asset value multiples that companies enjoy as they progress to development and operations. So a really exciting time. So next, you know, before I go into the more corporate update, I think what is most relevant right now is the copper news in the headlines, and those headlines are evolving very quickly, specific to do with the urgent need for U.S. domestic production. We've seen the threat of tariffs. We've seen, obviously, in the past year or so, copper defined as a critical material, and with this new executive order, you know, in turn being defined as a critical mineral. There is this massive focus to drive domestic production to meet the domestic demand that is well in excess of that. We certainly think that our two projects, Copperwood and White Pine, can really add to that domestic production, can do it in the near term. Because as investors look at companies like ours, there's really a binary case to look at, can the project actually be built? And to that end, you need permits, you need geology complete, and those are all things that are check marks for us. So more onto the corporate side, just a quick refresher in terms of the status of the two assets. Copperwood is our 100% owned project. There are 3.7 billion pounds of copper defined. It is fully permitted, as I noted, a nice initial 11-year mine life of 30,000 tons per year of production. So that's nearly 70 million pounds of copper annually. Really nicely sequenced with that is our second project, the White Pine project. We own 34% of that. And we sold 2/3 of it about 18 months ago, in part because we wanted to work with a strong partner to really advance that project. It is a bigger project, again, 5.4 billion pounds defined. And you'll understand that as a smaller company, while we're focused our attention and our time and our capital on Copperwood, it's really important to have a partner to move your second asset at speed. And that's what we've done here, a real divide and conquer. And I want to refresh investors as they look at our company at the real leverage to changes in copper price. And I'd argue that we have the highest leverage amongst our peer group. To give you a sense, the study for our Copperwood project, it was done at about a $4 copper price and demonstrated 170 million NPV, so nice and robust. But a 25% increase in copper price to $5 gives rise to a 300% in net asset value. It's funny, you know, it was relevant last time I presented about a month ago when we were at $4.50 copper to show that sensitivity moving towards 5. But of course, we're beyond that now. I naturally need to bring in new sensitivity to look at prices like 5.50 and 6, because again, you'll see that leverage as we move forward. And the leverage is same even related to our 34% interest in White Pine. So on the right side there, you're seeing that a $5 copper price, there's also dramatic leverage where you also have a $500 million net asset value to White Pine standalone for our interest. So again, just demonstrating that real leverage that both projects present, very critical to investors as they consider us as an investment. So from that point, you know, having the building blocks in place is wonderful. Having permits, feasibility study, et cetera, that's all good. but it's all about execution from that point. To take this from a project that is being studied to a project that truly can be built. I think we executed very well in 2024. We did some initial site work, in part to meet our permit obligations. We impacted certain areas of the site, and in turn had to do some environmental mitigation, specifically building wetlands and stream to offset our impact. So operating very well and nicely within the environmentally friendly standards of Michigan. We've worked alongside a host of contractors in the local union, so really getting a sense of how to work in the region in advance of making a full construction decision, and most importantly, putting our strong team in place. And I'd specifically point out our new project director, Vinan Van Dyke, 30 years of experience building projects just like this, and well set to move us to the next stage. And that next stage is execution through 2025. Detailed engineering is critical, I think, as people understand in today's market. Moving the project into an area where we can make a responsible construction decision and defend ourselves through project financing. Alongside that, network to see if we can improve the project, specifically with the application of ultrafine flotation technology, and of course, continuing to engage with the community, all working over the next year to drive ourselves to a construction decision on an optimized project design. And while we're doing that important work, our partners, Kinterra, are at equal speed advancing White Pine. Now, it's 2 to 3 years behind us in the cycle. So right now, they're moving through environmental baselining, stepping into pre-feasibility study, and getting the project prepared for permit applications. So really nicely sequenced as you think about Copperwood being built in the coming 2 to 3 year period, with White Pine shortly following after that. And so there's just a really nice big picture here for investors, particularly as the copper cycle is playing out and the supply-demand imbalance is really coming into sharp focus in the U.S. We have the potential to be the first regional entrant back into the Western UP. As a reminder, it is a wonderful historic district. Historically had many mines along this east-west copper run. Copperwood will be our first project back in, and of course, alongside our partner, White Pine being second. So potential, plenty of opportunity for growth, re-rating as you step into being a producer, obviously taking the benefit of leverage in copper price over that time, and just at a point when we're really aligned to critical mineral strategy from a U.S. perspective. So very exciting times, and I appreciate giving the update and happy to take any questions with the remaining few minutes.
Okay, wonderful, Sean. Yes. Talk a little bit about this rigorous water treatment and monitoring was mentioned earlier on the Copperwood project. Drew wants you to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, if you take a look at the Michigan mining standards, to be clear, they were written in 2004. So these are modern mining standards that are very environmentally forward and environmentally friendly. To the extent that you want to use water from the region and deliver it back in, it needs to be delivered at the highest standards, arguably cleaner than it was when it was taken or drawn from the environment. We'll use a reverse osmosis technology from a water cleansing perspective. And this is the case for all elements of our project, truly looking to minimize impact and as per Michigan regulation, also mitigate it, certainly in the example of creating new wetlands as we have done in the past 18 months.
And can you give some more detail on the recent U.S. executive order on critical mineral production?
Yeah, listen. I think that this is a massive change and a real inflection point for copper in the U.S. and certainly for domestic copper producers. It is looking to truly define copper as a critical mineral. It's looking to impact federal timelines. It's looking to prioritize funding that goes into projects like ours to facilitate that supply that is much needed. And I think importantly, it's also just a driver of investment back into mining. Mining has, it's a critically needed industry that needs investment again, both on the public and private side. And I think it's serving to facilitate that well. And, we're certainly seeing the beneficiaries of that. Investors are coming back into our story. We've seen nice liquidity, trading volume, and share price movement in the past period.
And last question due to time, you recently received an updated air permit in Michigan, so give a little color on that.
Yeah, of course, as I said, we're fully permitted, but naturally some of those permits need renewal on an ongoing basis. And having that permit updated and reflecting some modifications that we were also looking for just demonstrates our ongoing welcome from a state perspective in Michigan. another chance to show from a Michigan perspective that the permitting process is prescriptive. If you meet the strict regulation, you get your permits renewed as needed. We feel very welcome in Michigan and privileged to operate there.
And so, talk a little bit about the timeline, if you can, for project readiness, specifically the Copperwood.
Yeah, so for Copperwood, over the next 9 to 12 months, we look to get our project to approximately a 40% engineered. That's the point at which we think we can make a responsible construction decision, understanding the risks of the project, making sure that it's optimized appropriately, and really ready to make a project construction decision. Combined with that is having the knowledge around the project to defend yourself under project finance, which we would arguably parallel through that process. That would put ourselves in a position to make a construction decision, arguably early in 2026. As a reminder, it's about a 2.5-year construction window for this project. So this truly is near term, certainly when you think of the context of 15 to 20 years to build a mine in the U.S. From first drill hole.
Wonderful. Well, Barry, thank you so much for this update, and we certainly hope to see you again maybe next month.
Thank you so much, Anna.
All right, everyone, we'll be right back.